Hello, and welcome to Those Forking Fangirls, where we talk all things nerdy book, TV, movie, pop culture, and fandoms, and how they integrate into our adult lives. I'm Natasha.
And I'm Christine.
And today we're going to be discussing the concept of hyped books. So, digging into the hyped books of our late teens, early 20s on booktube, and comparing that wave to the new wave we're seeing in these early, like 2020s and the TikTok hyped books, I guess.
Yes. The concept type hype books, the ideas, how we see them. But before that, we are going to dive into Snap, Crackle, pop culture news as always. And the first thing I have today, it's not Taylor Swift news. It's Britney book. Britney Spears has a memoir that's coming out October 23rd called The Woman in Me. And I mean, I think I'm going to get it, but I feel like there's a 95% chance this is very ghost written. And
I want to know if she's going to do the audiobook.
I know. Well, I hope she doesn't, because her voice is really shot. She sounds like she smokes 1,000 cigarettes a day. I don't know what to think. She's like,
it would be good but so you don't want to hear her talk on
I want to hear someone else talk her words just on stage nowadays. No, it's her. But she doesn't sing live. I really feel like this is a crackpot theory, but I really feel like the way they made her sing, so really low and wispy when she was young, really hurt her voice.
Oh, I'm sure.
The way that she, I don't know, talks and just her mannerisms when I've observed her in interviews, it just feels like she's afraid to sing or talk. It feels like when I can't talk, I could see that in her eyes, kind of, in her mannerisms when she's in the carpool karaoke. I just felt like it looked like she was afraid to sing because maybe her vocal cords have been damaged. I don't know. That's just my theory.
I'm sure. Yeah. Because that happens to a lot of artists. I mean, even Adele went through that where she had to get vocal cord because she was singing in a very unhealthy way. And so if you sing in that way and you're a performer, it's not going to end well. Also happened with Julie Andrews. I think Julie Andrews actually had
she got
cancer.
Surgery or something too, I think, didn't she?
So
it's sad.
Word to the wise, don't ever sing past your vocal register or in a weird way.
Yeah, it's not worth ripping your voice up, but I don't know what to think of this book. Every time she posts on Instagram, I get concerned for her, and the way that she was posting about this book was concerning me. I'm like, is she all right? I feel like someone should be helping her post stuff because I don't know what to think, but I definitely feel like I will be purchasing the book. If anyone doesn't know, Britney was who I grew up obsessing over when I was a young girl because I loved her choreography and her music. She's one of the first CDs I obsessed over. Oops, I Did It Again. I learned all the dances and I made up my own dances. And I remember when the Lucky music video came out. It was the best day ever. The music video was on Nickelodeon. So I just feel really nostalgic about all of that. And just I'm sad for, there's so many great music videos, and she used to be such a fantastic dancer. I don't know what's, her life is like now, but she's obviously been through so much trauma, and I'm curious to hear her story from her point of view. Even though it's probably ghostwritten, I'm sure she dictated the story. But other than that, this week, SAG has joined the writer's strike, which is really exciting because the streamers have been real douchey about the writer's strike. They literally, in Deadline, said that they are going to wait this out till October till writers can't pay their rent before even thinking about negotiating. Yeah, and lose their houses and take a shitty deal because they can wait. But now that SAG has joined the strike, That's gonna change because we're stronger. They're stronger was two. It's the first time that two guilds have been on strike in Hollywood since 1960. So it is a historic moment. And when I saw, I like teared up when I went on Twitter and I saw this meme of Captain America, and it was like WGA over Captain America. And then it was, you know, the portal opening behind him, and it was like on your left. And I was like, SAG has joined the strike. Finally, like fighting against the corporate greed together.
Well, it's interesting because it's like, you know, SAG is, a lot of people are like, oh, great. It's just, you know, millionaires who are wanting, you know, more money. But what they don't understand. Yeah. And because what they don't understand is that only about, you know, 2 to 5% of SAG are those A-list actors that we see all the time on carpets. Like Hollywood's very small. The rest of it, which is probably going to be about, you know, 160,000 people, are the background workers, like the people who are auditioning, the people who have small bit roles, who are living paycheck to paycheck, who have to have side gigs to be able to afford to live in LA. So I hope, so many people are affected, and I honestly hope this is like the beginning of something bigger as well. As far as capitalism and all of these big CEOs just holding on to all their money, and, you know,
it's just ridiculous because they're holding firm on the most blasphemous terms about AI. Because this is a huge part of the writer's strike too. Like, they need to have boundaries with the AI. Like, they don't want AI writing these episodes by studying their writing and using it to feed a computer. And the same thing with the likeness of actors being used to create AI. They don't want to pay anyone. They just want to take their likeness and use it in perpetuity. It's literally the Black Mirror episode. I feel like they kind of fucked themselves letting that air. It really lets everyone see what's happening.
It's hilarious that I think they're called the AMTTP or something. Yeah. It's the guild that holds all of the people, or, you know, all of the executives behind these studios. That they made a statement yesterday, the day that, you know, they couldn't come to a deal. It was like, we came to the table with this groundbreaking AI proposal. And then they talked about the AI proposal the SAG did during their press conference. And it said that their AI proposal was saying that they wanted to, you know, use AI to clone the background actors and charge and just pay them 1 day of work, get their likeness and then use it in perpetuity, which means forever, for free, and not have to pay them the daily rate.
It's literally it's that scary dystopian world where there's no art. You know, that's what's this is leading towards if everything goes to AI. Everything's a mishmash and culture kind of disappears when there's no humanity in the art. And it's so annoying when I see on Twitter the dumb people being like, nothing's well written anyway. This is bullshit and all this stupid shit, name a good show. And it's just that's complete ignorance. If you can't name a good show, you either have no idea what a good show is, or no one has showed you the internet. I don't understand where you're getting that outlook, but it's all really, really frustrating. So I'm so glad that SAG and WGA are banding together to shut down Hollywood, to demand fair wages. It's just, the structure of the contracts has not been renegotiated since there was this entire shift in media toward streaming. So there are no residuals, and if there are residuals, they're very, very little. And that's what people used to keep between work, have paychecks from the residuals of stuff on television, like replaying a lot, syndicated stuff. Yeah. And now they're not getting paid. If something does super well on Netflix, they don't get paid any more than they would if it did not as well. They get their like flat rate. It's not included in any of the contracts because it's the wild, wild west with streaming, and they hide how well things are doing from them, so they can't renegotiate based on numbers and facts about how well the streaming is going. So the CEOs are just getting more money, and it's not being distributed to the actors or the writers. So it's some bullshit, man.
Yeah. I was good. Someone in our chat. So Cheyenne says Bob Iger said some gross shit. I'm so upset.
Yeah,
I mean, he's one of the reasons I quit Disney. But all these rich CEOs and execs are so gross. So I shared it on my stories. Bob Iger said something so out of pocket, and he was like, "It's disturbing." Like that's what he said. And you know where he was when he said this?
On a billionaire retreat.
Yes,
with Mark Zuckerberg.
Like, oh God. I just think it's hilarious because we were all so happy that Bob Iger like stepped up and replaced Bob Chapek. But they're all evil in their own way.
They're just so out of touch with reality. They're in their own billionaire reality bubble, and they're not in touch with like the people. You get to a point where you have so much money that you lose touch with like normal people, and that's where they are. So it's sad times there. Moving on. Do you have anything else you want to add about the?
I think the end of this is when I hope that the end of this is Tess and I were talking about it, that they'll come to this conclusion. But the problem is that all of these studios are already like just hemorrhaging money, and I hope. I don't know what this is like the demise, but I hope like this is where we'll see, some of these just come to an end and other big companies buy them up. So we don't have to have so many fucking streaming services because they don't have any money to be able to produce stuff anymore.
I know. Now that SAG is on strike, if you're not aware, actors, anyone in SAG, they cannot go, they're not going to be promoting anything at movie premieres. So they won't be at any premieres this summer until the strike ends. They won't be at San Diego Comic-Con. They won't be doing any press junkets. Like there will be no actors out doing any promotion for anything or filming anything until the strike ends. So,
and this is a strike on labor right now. They have not asked for a consumer boycott yet. So it might happen if the streamers don't come with a good deal, and then they might ask, consumers to help boycott. And that means like canceling stuff and not going to the movie theaters and things like that for certain studios. But so that has not happened yet. So they're only striking on labor. No one works.
Yeah. It's really sad because no one wants to go on strike. They have to go on strike in order to literally save their jobs in the future and to be able to afford things. Everyone has to work at least 2 jobs if they're not a A-lister,
or a show
person.
lead.
Or a show lead. Yeah, they're not getting paid a fair wage, and it's just ridiculous. So hoping they finally negotiate a good deal in the coming months. I don't know if anyone remembers back to 2007 with the writer's strike. That lasted 100 days. The writers have been on strike since May 1st. So 100 days, where are we at? It's like 60, 75 days at this point. It's really a mess. It's been taking way too long.
Amy's loss was affected, so of course I know.
Yeah, everything was affected. Heroes died for the writer's strike. The second season started out so promising, and then so the second season, what I found out recently with Heroes is that they shot it with the first drafts because the writers hadn't gotten final scripts when they went on strike, and they shot it with first drafts, so it was messy, and then they finished it out just by combining storylines and ending it within I think it was a 7 or 8 episodes, the first half of season 2. It was a mess. And you can tell the first season one of the best things on television at that time. And the second season was like a mishmash. It was so sad because I really, really loved that show. It killed Pushing Daisies. Like so many things in that year that show-wise died because of the writer's strike. And I just don't want that to happen to any of our favorite stuff. So the ANTPM, it's just too many letters. I always say it wrong. Better get on negotiating. All right. Today in Taylor Swift news is a bit of a stretch.
Oh, Lord.
She attended a Questlove party and was pictured playing Adult Dare Uno with Jason Sudeikis, who plays Ted Lasso. And Twitter was having a ball, just like taking lyrics from her songs and making them about her and Ted Lasso playing Uno together. So it was funny.
Nicole says it was a party for cannabis cooking too. She was definitely high.
Oh, shit. That's really funny. It was in New York. Oh, and also in actual news, she put out like a deluxe edition of Speak Now Taylor's version that had a live recording from Kansas City of Last Kiss. And shit, what other one? Another one. I want to say, I don't think it was Long Live, but you know, it was another one. I didn't get it because I was like, I don't need that.
Dear John, Cheyenne says.
Oh, Dear John. Thank you, Cheyenne.
And you cannot stream it in Europe, Laura says.
Sad times. I'm sorry, Lara. All right. So Tessa Violet, who used to be Mika Kitty on the YouTubes, she now goes by Tessa Violet as a musician. You know, she's had hit singles like Crush and Yes Mom that went really viral on TikTok. Yes Mom is on this new album called Oh My God that just came out. My favorite song on it is called Bad Bitch, and the music video for it dropped last night. It's very good. So you can check that out if you like Tessa Violet's music. And I haven't gotten to mention this because there's been so much Taylor Swift news the past couple weeks, but I keep wanting to mention that Maise Peters, who is so talented, she's only like 23, I think, but her lyrics remind me of Taylor Swift in so many ways. Like she tells stories in all her songs. They're all so catchy and so good. Her new album, what?
I don't know who she is.
She's British. She's amazing. This is her sophomore album, I believe. Full album. Maybe it's her third album. Damn it, I can't remember. Okay, but it's called The Good Witch. And some of my favorite songs on it are Run, 2 weeks ago, yes, BSC, which stands for Batshit Crazy. I really love Want You Back. Really good. Album is great. Maise Peters. All right, moving on into what right now? Natasha, tell us about what you've been reading this week.
I started this book called Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. It is I guess it's a romance book, and it's about ice skating. I just get these vibes that I keep reading these books that like TikTok is like telling me to read, like these romance books, and they're all these like big alpha male types, and they're more smut than I think I want. Like I think I'm more in.
Icebreaker is more smutty?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know though. I have to get into it. It's just it's not the type of the character archetype that I really love. I like a good slow burn, and not like these people are like popular people in college. I don't know if that's a thing, but they're like,
yeah. I was like, are there popular people in college? Unless you have a really small
they're just
college,
like the jock types, because one's an ice skater and one's a hockey player. So I'll report back. I've only in like the first 2 chapters, but I just haven't like enjoyed their archetypes as of now.
Okay. Yeah. You probably had to give it a couple more chapters before you can feel like you know them. I have been reading Fourth Wing and doing a reading vlog this week. That'll go up when I finish it. And I'm enjoying the crap out of the tropes. And also, like, just having a really fun adventure book that has a lot of, like, romantic undertones happening. I am about, I want to say, like, 35% of the way through, even though I keep looking. I'm like, only 35% of the way?
I think that's a good chunk.
I just feel like so much has happened, so I'm like very excited for what else is gonna happen. Like it's got like How to Train Your Dragon meets Divergent meets like I want to say The Vampire Diaries just because of the romance trope that's happening, but it's got all those vibes and Hunger Games vibes, and it's just got a lot of vibes from like the early. It's adult, so it's an adult novel. Everyone's 20. Like she talks about sex all the time, but like we're burning. You know, there hasn't been like constant sex scenes. There's lots of like tension and like I love that and banter and words exchanged.
I want to read it. I want to read it very bad. I looked up the release date. It's in November. It's like November
for the
7th.
Second book.
Yes,
Yeah,
I think
it's
I'm
coming.
Yeah, I'm gonna read it
before you know it.
closer, probably. So like in September or something. I've got
Caitlin's
the
been
new.
listening to Better Together. Oh, thank you, Caitlin. She said it's so good. Thank you.
What have you been watching?
I have been watching The Summer I Turned Pretty. The season 2 just dropped. And by the time this comes out, there'll be 6 episodes. But there are 3 episodes out. And I cried a lot in the first 2 episodes.
I think, okay, you texted me a slew of messages last night. And I was
Yes, I did.
trying to get stuff done, putting up the podcast. And I was like, oh my God, okay. Okay, good to know, trigger warning.
Yeah. I feel like I should send you a trigger warning.
I know you were very confused about how there was only 1 episode and it was 36
Oh my
minutes.
God. So I went on because the front page of Amazon was like, Summer I Turned Pretty season 2. So I click on it and it says episode 1 and I scroll down and there's nothing underneath it. I was like, you gotta be shitting me. They're only giving us 1 episode. And then I watched the first like 10 to 15 minutes of the episode and it says like 15 minutes in and it says there's 36 minutes. And I thought it was 36 minutes total. Because, you know, some streamers say the total time and some say how much time you have left when they split it. So I was thinking that was the total time. So I told you and Cynthia, I like rage tweet texted being like, there's only 1 episode of The Summer I Turned Pretty season 2 and it's only 36 minutes. What gives? And I both of you were like, oh, what? And Cynthia was like, oh, maybe I'll wait to watch. And then later that night, I'm finishing the episode and realizing there's 36 minutes left. And I had watched 20 minutes. So it's like a 50-minute episode. And then when it was done, it was like, watch episode 2. And I was like, what the fuck? And it just like... It had put me on like some weird page that had a recipe underneath the episode instead of the episodes that come after it under the episode. So I was just like very confused. I had a lot of like some drama going on yesterday and I was anxious. So I think I just was like reading everything really dumb. Because that's why I sent you a slew of messages. I was like, I lied. It's 50 minutes. Oh my God, I lied. There's 3 episodes. So that happened.
Yeah, I'm trying to decide I'm just trying to
sad.
decide if I should just wait until next
all
week,
out.
till it's out to watch it. I don't like waiting.
Lara is saying that Jeremiah is so uplifting and Conrad seems more unhealthy and I don't feel their chemistry. I don't know if you're talking about, I'm just going to say this in relation to season 1. That's exactly how I felt the whole time in season 1. It was really annoying because like who would ship Conrad based on the show? I just don't get it because he is so dull and sad and mean. You know, he's so angsty. It's so 2008.
2008 Natasha would ship Conrad. So, but yeah, definitely 2022 Natasha, when she was watching it, was like, I'm like, I love Jeremiah.
There's so much joy with Jeremiah. So
Yes. Also, it's a little weird because they remind me of my boy cousins.
Oh.
They look just like, one is taller, one is like the goofier one, and they're both like these like tanned surfer kids from Orange County who are lifeguards.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. It's just a little weird, but
Yeah. What have you been watching?
Okay, I have been watching. I should have put this on like 2 weeks ago. I watched The Witcher the first night it came out.
All of it?
All of everything that's out right now.
Wow.
And you know what was really fun though is because this is the stuff that I read in the book. And I'm very
Oh.
interested, and it was like my favorite part of the book. I wasn't as interested in the way that they filmed it, and I don't think it was as big of a deal as they wanted it to be, because when we got like the first episodes just ended, you know, it's not like we're on this big cliffhanger. It's just like, oh, okay, it's done.
Of the new season.
Of season 3 of The Witcher. So, and then I think the new episodes are coming out, I think at the end of July or something like that. But I think it was a little quick, and I just wish it was. Oh, you hate Yennefer's wig in this season, Caitlin? I love it. I love Yennefer. It is so long and thick. Now it's really thick up top near her head, and she has her proportions are very are smaller. So I think I don't know if she can. I don't know. I think she looks fabulous in this season. Like, I love this long hair. It's probably because I got long hair myself. But I don't actually like. I don't like Geralt's hair. It's like too gray.
Does he still have those like really fake looking yellow eyes from second season?
And I feel like they look worse in this season.
They look terrible in second season, and I don't know why they just didn't stick with first season. I feel like people were complaining, but like, you don't want him to look like a Cullen vampire from movie 1. Like, you just don't. And that's what he looks like.
They don't look like contacts, but they're like too yellow. They're supposed to be.
They look like piss.
Yeah, I don't like them, but
Like dehydrated piss.
Yeah, it just the whatever I'd watched, the episodes I watched, just didn't leave me wanting, and like, it didn't really satisfy me. Not like the first season did, but also we still have more episodes to go, so we'll see. I'm very interested to see what they do with the switch off between the Witchers. Or if they just ignore it.
I haven't had the craving to even watch it like I thought I would want to, but I was kind of underwhelmed last season and annoyed by his eyes so much that when it came out, I was like, I
think you like this. The beginning of the season is like this really cute workaround of how they get back, like how everyone like is kind of heals. I think it's cute, the beginning of it.
Okay.
It's more bantery. I think you'll like it.
All right.
Okay, I also watched Secret Invasion, which is the new Marvel show on Disney Plus. The first 3 episodes are out. This show has so much expensive talent. We've got Olivia Colman, obviously Samuel Jackson, Daenerys Targaryen, Emilia Clarke, and it's more of like a spy thriller. Now, as I'm watching the show, it shouldn't be a show. It should have been a movie. It's way too drawn out. I'm getting bored with all these fucking filler spots.
Damn.
I hope it gets better towards the end, but I don't know. It's like, it's just okay. And I'm so mad because they have such great talent in it. I just don't think the writing was really there. But it's just about how the Skrulls are secretly invading our Earth.
Oh, I had no desire to watch it.
I was actually excited for it because I was excited for Emilia Clarke.
Yeah, I didn't realize she was in it, but I'm glad to know that it was underwhelming and I'm not missing much.
Yeah.
So none of us watched movies this week, so we're gonna move right on into our main discussion. But before that, gotta take a second and thank all of you listening out there. If you're not already, please follow the podcast for free in your favorite podcast app so you don't miss an episode. If you like watching the visual version here on YouTube, please hit that like button, leave us a comment, and you can subscribe to the show there for free so you never miss an episode on the YouTubes. All your support is so helpful for us. Telling a friend you think would like the show is really helpful to us. So if you have any friends out there who are huge Swifties or love fandom and books and nerdy stuff like us, like, if you tell them about the show, that means a lot to us. And if you want to support the show in a bigger way, of course, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/thoseforkingfangirls. There at the $5 tier, Team Jacob, we have an extra half an hour show we do every single week called Fangirl Tea Time. I was like, what is it called? And we talk about more personal stories and more like just things that we don't necessarily want to share with everyone, but want to talk to our close-knit community about. It's really fun. There's lots of perks at all 3 tiers. You can check that out at the link in our description in our show notes. Thank you so much for all your support. This is a listener supported show. We could not do this without you. All right.
We love you.
We love you. Any support that you show, sharing the show, Patreoning the show, really, really makes a difference. All right. We are going to move on into our hyped books discussion. We're going to be comparing the books of our our youth-ish, our coming up into adulthood books to the hyped books of 2023 at this time. So it's kind of like 2013, 2012, 2014.
Like the 2010s to like versus the 2020s.
It's like 10 years ago and now. All right. And so I wanted first kind of talk about the biggest differences we see here, because the biggest difference I'm seeing is that the hyped books right now are definitely skewing way more towards romance. And like at the time in 2013, I didn't even know what romance books were. I thought there were erotica books and then there were books. So like when everyone started saying like, Christine, read Colleen Hoover in my comments, I started reading Colleen Hoover, and I just thought these were contemporary novels. And I loved them so much because the relationship always started pretty early on. And like, it was such a big part of every plot. And I didn't know these were romance books that I was reading.
Oh my gosh.
No one called them that, because at the time, romance was still like a thing to be ashamed of. So it wasn't like shouted from the rooftops if your book was a romance book. You just kind of like had your book and people would tell people to read it, but people weren't like, this is a romance novel. And the most interesting thing to me looking at the list of hyped books in 2023 as compared to like 2013, 2012 was that they're adult books. So it's very funny to me that it seems like it's the same audience that's hyping books. It's not like a new, really youthful audience that has like a bunch of YA novels. It's like everyone who loved books before finding new books that they love now and talking about them on TikTok, Like all these books so many of these books that are hyped right now are adult novels. Like the one I'm reading right now, Fourth Wing, like that's an adult novel. Like Allie Hazelwood, like adult romance. Emily Henry from Blood and Ash, the Jennifer L. Armentrout books are adult. Colleen Hoover, adult. Red, White, and Royal Blue, adult. Like there are very few like super hyped YAs in the zeitgeist, I feel like. The ones that stand out the most to me is like the Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy. There's, of course, like the Chloe Gong books, These Violent Delights, and Adam Silvera.
Oh, yeah.
But most of them, like Evelyn Hugo and like The Unhoneymooners, Atlas 6, like Yellowface. What else?
Where's our list?
I'm reading the list. Twisted Love. That's the one you just read, right?
Yes.
Like all of these are adult books. And I feel like our generation and like the people in their early 20s are reading them. I don't know what the big books for like teenagers are right now. Are they all just reading this too?
I think I have a theory. My theory is that because the internet has aged, so like I think back in 2010 we were coming off the heels of Twilight, and Twilight was the thing that got everyone to read in our millennial age group and older and beyond. Like everyone was reading it.
And beyond.
And that's what started filling up the YA shelves because everyone got a taste of what a good
Romance
of what a
was.
romance was, right? And so these are primarily female audiences who are pushing these books. And then us as booktubers, got into the picture. A lot of these books then that were pushed out in, the tailwind of the Twilight success was because it was all young female girls who are, wanting to read the next thing that has romance, the next thing that has action. Like, these are stories that are meant for us to enjoy and to consume, or anyone who identifies as a female. And so that was that first wave. And then this kind of opened up, at least for our generation, like the fan fiction writers. So I think the next thing that happened is we got 50 Shades of Grey, which was a Twilight fan fiction. And that was even, I don't know if that was even bigger, but it was just as big. Like it opened up the doors for more people to start talking about romance, and it opened up the doors for people who wanted to write romance to be able to publish those books, who were just sitting behind a computer screen posting their stories to fanfiction.net and LiveJournal and all that stuff. And so then we started getting
bookstore.
Yeah, and then we started getting, because we had this conversation with Christina Lauren.
Yeah.
And we as readers, we always thought we were just like, these romance books were just like our mom's bodice rippers. But now they're packaged and they're cute in these cute covers, and now everyone is reading them. And so now I think that has just pushed us into a whole new level. And also we have TikTok now. We have short form content, and it's honestly, what started was, there was the book bloggers. We have to give them credit. Not have to. They were there before us. And then there was us as booktubers. And now we have the book talkers, because I feel like, I was reading the book bloggers, I was reading the fan sites. Then we're like, okay, well, now we have, newfangled technology. So let's make videos and become YouTubers. And then the people who are watching us were like, oh my gosh, I want to do this. I want to be part of this community. And then TikTok happened, and they could, because they were younger than us. It was a Gen Z. And now we have this new wave of a generation who are pushing books that, they've grown into.
Yeah, but it's still like really interesting that I feel like the excitement for books has completely shifted to a new age group, like all of us together.
Yeah.
As one, not like there's separate like hype for
generations. Yeah.
Generational books. Like, even when we were younger, I feel like there weren't as many adult books that were hyped in general. It's like the hype is moving with us.
Yes.
And it's really fascinating to really like dig into that, because like the only hyped adult books I can recall as a young adult are the Dan Brown books. Like, those were everywhere and everyone was talking about them, but there was no like Emily Henry.
Rice. Yeah. Well, okay. If you think about it, there was like Danielle Steele, whom I read.
But I looked at those as like old people books when I was young.
It was like women's fiction.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole thing. People are so annoyed that we call it women's fiction and not just fiction, because there's no men's fiction.
Mm-hmm. Laura says that there was not really an older generation on social media after before millennials.
Yeah, there wasn't, but there's still there were ways to hype books. Like, there were magazines. I would read all the reviews in People for the books, the adult books that were coming out, and
it was word of mouth.
Word of mouth, yeah, and that's still huge now. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it wasn't as easily accessible in the same way, but people still talked about books, and there was just never one big one until Harry Potter, Twilight, Dan Brown. Anytime there was a big one, I was like, I need it. I need to read it. Like, I remember a huge wave of hype from Oprah. Oprah hyped books, okay?
Oh, yeah.
And there was A Million Little Pieces. That was huge. And that was like one of the only really big adult books of like the 2000s that I can remember other than Dan Brown. And there was a whole scandal about that book.
There were like the other, like the Something Borrowed, the Sophie Kinsella, who did Confessions of a Shopaholic, whom I did read those back in the day. They are rom-coms, but they're not. They don't have any sex in them whatsoever.
I didn't
was
know
kind of
about
like my
those
gateway.
till college. Yeah, who told you about those?
The movie did.
Oh, okay. So a movie would hype a book.
Yeah, the adaptation, and then I went on to find what else she wrote, later on though. But I didn't start exploring what she wrote until like 2013, 2014, because I remembered the movie that I really loved.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like the stigma of YA has also, I think, added to this shift in how things are marketed, because a lot of these are borderline in terms of like the age group being like early 20s, just like Fourth Wing, like she's 20, but like they talk about sex and adult stuff, so it's adult and there's sex, I'm sure. But a lot of them could be border. Like I would be like, oh, this could be called YA, or this could be like the YA that we don't like acknowledge exists, the college years, because it's very much a college novel. Like they're called first years in this school where they're learning to ride. Like, so it's really interesting when you dig into it that way. All right. I thought it would be interesting also to actually, okay, before we go into that, I just want to talk about like how you look at hyped books then in comparison to how you look at hyped books now. Because back in the early 2010s, I was there before they became super hyped. Like it was my job and I took it upon myself to know anything that was getting any attention. I was like, gotta read it now, gotta do book talk.
You were very on top of it, yeah.
I would literally watch what was being released and choose like that book. I'm going to be the first one to talk about that. Like that's what I did with The Darkest Minds. I literally saw it. Liz from Elizzy Books used to make these videos where she would talk about the new releases coming out every week. And I would go to Barnes and Noble and like pick out the one I was most excited about and read it. And I saw The Darkest Minds. I liked the cover. I liked the little blurb she gave about it in the video. And I was like, that's mine. And I went, read it, did a book talk, and I did the same thing with The Fifth Wave. Like I saw it on her video, I was like, I want that, I'm doing it. And I like immediately read it, and I wanted to be the first one. Like I wanted that book associated with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like because we had our books on BookTube.
We did have our books on BookTube. Like
Yeah.
I felt like I was always behind the curve until I found certain books that I read before most people. Like I remember getting Dumplin' in one of those like big ass. So we used to get like, I don't get ARCs anymore because I can't deal with that much volume of books anymore. But we used to get these big like
Boxes of ARCs. And HarperCollins sent me Dumplin', and I read it, and it was the first time I read that this was going to be about a plus size character. And I think I've only read about 2 or 3 ARCs in my life because I just don't care about being in front of the curve. And I read Dumplin', and I was like, this is my book. Like, this is my book. Like and it's funny because when we had decided that back then, we now have these very like weird, not weird, but like closer relationships with those authors because we had decided it back then. I did the same thing with Red Rising. No one was talking about it, and it was an adult book. And so I feel like that was like one of the first adult books. I mean, I did it with Outlander too, but Sasha and I kind of shared it, but it was already something published back in the 90s. So yeah, it was. I don't care about being in front of the curve, but I definitely I own the few books that were mine. Yeah, now I've kind of had to let it go, and
yeah,
when I see something like hits a certain threshold, I'm like, okay, I need to get on that. Like I want to know what it's about. I know I want to be able to talk about it and compare it and know the details.
Yeah.
And So I will get it and read it like I'm doing right now. But I thought it'd be interesting to hear, like, so how did we find out about these super hyped books back then, and how are we finding out about them now? Like, because I remember distinctly where I found like every single book that was hyped that I read back then, because again, I found I was reading it before it was super hyped, and I thought it'd be fun to go down the line and kind of talk about where we first learned about like the Hunger Games. Like,
Yeah.
I think we both learned about this from the same spot, right?
Like where?
Like Stephanie Meyer's blog post?
No, actually, no.
No?
No.
Oh, shit. Okay.
I learned about it in dance class my sophomore year because someone was asking me what I was going to read during the Christmas holiday, and I was like, I don't remember what I said, but I remember what she said, and she's like, I think I'm going to read The Hunger Games, and I'm like, oh, what is that about?
Before the movie?
What?
Was this
It was
before movie?
2000. It was 2008, 9,
Okay,
2009.
2008 was when she posted about it.
Yeah. So, it was 2009. So it was like this December 2009 before going into 2010. And I was like,
Okay.
oh, okay, that sounds interesting. And then I saw more people read it as the year went on. Then I picked it up like as soon as I was like, I need to get in front of this.
Well, I was reading Stephanie Meyer's blog whenever she posted anything.
She had such power.
She did. She did. So she introduced me to the Hunger Games, and I bought the book immediately, but it took me to like right before the holiday in 2008 before I actually read it. And yeah, I think we've all heard the story. I tell it all the time, but like I got to the end and I was like, what the fuck? It was like 3 a.m. I couldn't stop reading it. I was like, I just got to get to the end. I just need to know how this ends. And it was like end of book 1. I was like, no one told me this was part of a trilogy, son of a bitch. So I was like on its ass from day one. And then I remember as we got closer to Mockingjay, I would just see Catching Fire and Hunger Games all over the place. Like at the beach, just see like walking through people, and they'd all have the fucking Hunger Games, and I was like, holy shit. Okay, what about Divergent? Do you remember where you heard about that?
I remember I was very early to it because I think when did it come out?
It came out in I want to say 2011 or 2012.
Yeah, I don't remember how but I was there like month it published because I wanted to be on top of it. I was like, this is the next thing. And I remember the one thing I do remember is someone posting a meme on Pinterest and being like the Divergent fandom. And then it was like 5 people, and it was like the Divergent fandom after the movie gets announced, and it was like a crowd of people. So that's about
Powerful meme. Everyone was telling me, so this is how I found so many books. I had my booktube channel, and people just tell me what to read in the comments. And like 10 people said read Divergent, and I was like, I gotta get Divergent. And I read it and was instantly obsessed with it. And from that point on, anytime anyone asked me what to read in my real life, it was Divergent, because I was like, this is going to turn you into a reader. Read Divergent. And everyone would read and be like, holy shit, Christine, that was amazing. I'm like, I know, it's everything. I was obsessed with Divergent. And yeah, I was in it, like, I think it was right before Insurgent was coming out that people were telling me to read it. And I definitely read it in 2012, so I don't know when it came out, but that's when I read it. And that book talk kind of took off a little bit on my channel. And so it's like a landmark book talk for me too. What about, do you remember the Maze Runner?
Kind of. I remember that's when I was working on Page to Premiere. So, but it came out before then. I was there. I think I heard about it. I never read it though. When the rights were optioned, because when we were on Page to Premiere, we were like on top of every single book to movie adaptation, and like we knew when things were coming out. So I think it was like 2012.
Cheyenne's saying, yes, I remember you hated it. Yeah, it was like the one book that I was recommended that I did not like. But I resisted reading it for a long time because I really didn't like the cover. And then I read it in like 2012. And I really didn't like it at all. And I was so confused about like why it was. My book talk was hilarious. Thank you. Yeah, everyone was loving it. I felt like it was just, it was, first of all, a lot of boys, and I didn't like that aspect of it. But it was, I don't know, it annoyed me a lot. And I was so confused about the hype, so I didn't keep reading. But I also like didn't want to shit on it because I knew that so many people liked it. So like I made my book talk, and this was before I was like very conscious of like not wanting to hurt anyone's feelings. So I don't really remember. I don't go back and watch it. But like I remember it's one of two book talks where I feel like I really didn't like the book. And I didn't go on to the next one, and when people would ask me about it in years to come, I would be like really hesitant to even talk about it because like I don't want to like shit on anything anybody loves. But I just didn't think it measured up to a lot of the other books at the time that were hyped at all. Like Throne of Glass didn't come till like 2013, but I know I heard about that one from Peru's Project, was talking about it all the time. Reagan.
Yeah.
Reagan. I was going to say Renee because I call her Renee as a joke, but her name is Reagan. Like her book that I associate with her as a booktuber is Throne of Glass. And she kind of like spurred a booktube into that. And to this day, like that's what pushes me over the edge to like read a book if I see like someone I trust from the booktube community talking about it in a positive light. I'm like, okay, I'm going to get it now.
Yeah. Throne of Glass, it was definitely from Reagan. And I think I remember when you put up your book talk about it and what you were wearing and all that.
I was that weird braid in my hair because it was so dirty. So Vampire Academy was huge.
I knew that from you.
Okay. I got it from people in my comments.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was early, like 2010. Like September is when I started reading it.
I distinctly remember I read it. Oh, I think it was it was like when we were first talking, and I think it was probably 2013 or 2012. Well, we met in 2013, but we were talking in like 2012, right?
It's kind of mush because I know I met you in 2013, like in June or July. So
it might have been that. But I read it during my family vacation, like over like at the beach house. And I think I read like for 2 weeks. I just binged those books, and I was messaging you about it because we were definitely talking at that point.
Yeah.
That was you.
Do you remember Anne and the French Kiss? This one was like huge for me because Anne and the French Kiss was like the first regular romance novel that I read. And I didn't even clock it again as a romance novel at all. But like John Green made a video about it. And it also, like, as a person who wanted to write, I was like, John Green read this novel about a young girl falling in love and liked it? Like, because, I hold his opinion in such high regard. And I was like, oh my gosh, so, like, people could like something that I write? Who are not, like, girls that are teenagers like me, like, that it could be widely loved. Because we had this idea as, like, people growing up in, like, the 2000s that, like, girly stuff, like that anything that had a girl as the main character was girly stuff that like any boy would never watch. It was so bad back then. It's still kind of bad now. Like I feel like guys, like they see like anything that has like a lady main character that looks like a rom-com. A lot of them are like, no, I'm not even interested. Even though like I always say this, but like, dude, do you have relationships? Do you want to find love? Like, is that something that you can't relate to? Like, do you laugh? Are you a human? It's so frustrating because it's literally just sexism because we watch everything that men are like in all the time because they're the leads of so many fucking things.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Anne and the French Kiss. I think I saw it from a lot of booktubers, and it took me a while to be convinced to read it.
Okay, last one I want to talk about is the Mortal Instruments.
Yeah.
Do you remember where you found that?
Yeah, from Stephanie Meyer.
Yeah, same. Okay.
I don't know if I saw it on her blog or if I saw it was like on a table at Borders, and I saw she had blurbed it, and I was like,
the third one, City of Oz.
And I was like, Mom, I need to buy all of these. I don't know if it was I feel like because I think I waited to read the third one. I don't remember. Go on. Well, how did you? I mean, you found it because of Stephanie.
I did too. She had blurbed the third one. I was like, okay, I gotta get all of these. But okay, and also another thing, The Fault in Our Stars, that was like a huge phenomenon at the time, and it was because
I
of
remember,
YouTube. Yeah, it was because John Green. So let's talk about how you feel now when there's a hyped book that's like everywhere around you. Do you feel left out at all? Like, how does it make you feel when everyone's read something that you haven't read? Because I hate it when it gets to that point.
Because I feel like we've just been on like the coattails of like the ACOTAR stuff, and we were just like, we were there from the beginning.
Yeah, I know.
When new things like fucking Fourth Wing comes out, I was like, oh, wait.
Yeah, this is the first thing that I felt left out about, because all the other ones were like stuff we've already known about forever.
Yes.
And
That's
then
kind of
we're
how
like,
I felt. Oh, go on.
go ahead.
That's how I felt about From Blood and Ash. It's like everyone was talking about that. I was like, wait, this is Jennifer Armentrout. Okay, I'm just gonna read it. Why is everyone freaking out about her books?
Yeah. Well, because you know the signs. Like with Fourth Wing, if something is this big, it's got to be so much fun. You know, like there's no way that it's getting so big if it's not like such a fun ride. And so
and like, even my brother wants to read it right now.
Yeah, why wouldn't he? It's literally like sold out at all Barnes and Nobles. When they get them in, they're posting about it like, guess who's back? Back again. Fourth Wing's back. Tell a friend.
That's
like,
crazy.
My Amazon order of Fourth Wing isn't coming till August 14th, it told me. I was like, that's a month from, like more than a month from when I ordered it.
So I think this is interesting because there's another book recently that it keeps hitting the New York Times bestsellers list, and it's Light Lark, because it got like
that's the girl from
famous.
TikTok.
Yeah. And it has some like controversy around it, but I never had like the instinct like I do now with Fourth Wing to be like, I want to read it.
Oh yeah, no, it's
and
not.
I wonder
the same
why
sort
that
of
is.
Hype. Well, it's this. The thing is, it's not the same sort of hype. Like, I don't know. I feel like I can gauge the different types of hype like innately, almost from being in it for so long. And like Fourth Wing has reached this level that like is through the roof. Like you can't not want to read it now. It's everywhere. Everyone's talking about it. Not just like our bubble again. It's like randoms in real life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
that's when it's weird because I'm just
when
like,
it hits
why
that
am I...
level, it's like, I need to know this. Yeah.
Because if we look at our list here and we wrote it down, I think the only one I would be like, oh, like Allie Hazelwood was like something that someone else told me about because she was a Raylo fanfic author. I was like, oh, okay, I'm on board with this. And then that blew up. And then the other one but it was Addie LaRue, which we already know the author. Yeah, V.E. Schwab. And that was like a lot of these are like established authors. Like these books, like Fourth Wing is the first of its kind in a while where we have a new author and it's getting this much hype.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, she's not new. She's written 5 other books.
She has?
Yes. Yeah, no, I was like, this doesn't feel like a first-time author. It's like, they're not the same genre, I think. It looked like contemporary. I just looked at the titles and I was like, oh, I've never heard of any of these. So this is like her explosion book. Also, Entangled Teen published it, or Entangled Publishing. I don't know if you remember, Entangled published all of Jennifer Armentrout's early, like, Onyx... What the fuck
Obsidian.
is that series called? Lux series, the Lux series, yeah. And yeah, we worked with them back in like 2014. I was like, I haven't seen their name in a while. Like this must be huge for them because they're a small publishing company. I think they're actually owned by one of the bigger ones now. But yeah, that was fascinating. So, what ultimately broke the straw on the camel's back to get you to pick up like the last hyped book that you read? So would you say like Twisted Love is like the last hyped book that you read?
I guess so.
Yeah, and what was the last straw that made you pick it up?
Well, that's the thing. I didn't really know about it from like TikTok and all that. I didn't see other people. I think I would compare this to probably From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I saw other people on Instagram in my circle who aren't necessarily big readers reading it, and I was like, okay, gonna read it. And I read the synopsis, and it was like a vampire, sexy fantasy, and I'm like, that's all I want. So
It hit your keywords.
yeah.
All right.
Wait, I was gonna.
What?
I forgot. I wanted to. Never mind. Well, I'll bring it up. If it comes, never mind. I should probably bring it up
Say
right
it.
now. I think it's so funny though, as readers nowadays compared to when we were, that everyone knows these like keywords, for tropes. Like they know exactly what they want to read. They know what a slow burn is. They know what a love to hate. Like I remember you guys doing a Q&A thing at Barnes and Noble, and someone asked you what your favorite trope was, and I was like, what? I turned to Maureen. I'm like, what's a trope? No idea what those terms were. And now everyone is so very specific about what they like, and they know all these fun terms that like get them the book that they want.
I think that's come along with the explosion of romance, and this new generation is way less stigmatized against being outwardly sexual and very accepting of like embracing your sexuality and not being ashamed of being sexual. And we very much grew up in an environment where it was like, shame on you, you fucking slut, for like literally just like wearing a short skirt. Like let alone talking about like sex and talking about romance in general. It was all categorized as either slutty or like too girly. There was so much like misogyny just ingrained in everything around us to shame you for like ever talking about any of this outwardly. So like this huge, really positive shift has allowed for us to like outwardly love these things, be way more in tune with what we like, and what we find sexy, what we find entertaining. And it's just so beautiful. It's so exciting.
Yeah, it is. It is very exciting.
It's such a great shift that has happened over the last 10 years.
What do you think was the straw, since I moved it away from that, but what do you think is the straw that broke the camel's back to get you to read your like Fourth Wing?
Well, our friend Kaden actually read it, and I saw her do like a little TikTok review of how much she enjoyed it, how it got her out of the reading slump, and I was like, okay, Kaden is now talking about this. She liked it. Like, I want to read it. Then she actually messaged me when I was talking about my reading slump. She was like, have you tried Fourth Wing? And I was like, girl, I actually just downloaded it. I'm planning to do a whole video. Also, like, I've run out of writing vlogs, and I was like, I need to read something. I need to read it, do a reading vlog. I need to make something, and like it's fun and kind of low stakes to do a reading vlog, especially about something that everyone's excited about. So you know that like everyone already knows the story, so you don't really have to worry about it being super niche. So it's perfect for that. And I want to talk about this because I feel like this is really important. And I know we've kind of touched on it before, but I think we have to touch on it again. So does hype for something change the way you approach or go into a novel? Because it really annoys me how so many people love to be like very critical of something because it's been hyped. And it's a trend. It gets views to be critical of things that have been like hyper critical, like going into it ready to tear it down. And I've really conditioned myself to like not ever take hype that way, because it's hyped because people enjoy it. So I want to enjoy it too. And it just makes me sad when that happens. So yeah, how do you feel?
I think when I was younger, I really wanted to stay away from hype stuff. I was just like, "Ugh, I don't want to be like with the grain. But then I kind of had to, I had to get,
grain.
I had to get over it. That's how I was with The Fault in Our Stars. I was like, I don't really care about reading it. I never did read it. I know. Listen, it all started because my parents didn't allow me to read Harry Potter, but I watched the movie. Now, I don't care. Like, if something's hyped, I have, lived, more life to know that it's hyped for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So right now, like, what's on your radar that's hyped that you really feel like you need to get to?
Well, definitely Fourth Wing. Mm-hmm. There's also, it's so funny. Everyone's been talking about the Priory in the orange tree, and it's so funny that
waited
came out, like,
in 2016. Yeah, I know.
For
At
this
BEA.
book.
Years ago.
I have the arc.
I know. It's huge. It was like 1,000 pages.
Yes. So, and I remember Alex asking me, because he's like, do we have Priory of the Orange Tree? I was like, yes, I have the arc of it. So
you had the arc of Addie LaRue. Like,
yeah.
It's crazy.
I mean, I don't think it's like, it's super hyped, but, again, like, I'm really excited for Hurricane Wars.
Because you always talk about that one.
I know. Well, it's a Raylo fanfic, and I want everyone, but it's going to be so good. I just know it's going to be so good. She's probably going to take out a bunch of the sex scenes, unfortunately, but I think it's going to be so good. That comes out this fall. Do you have any books?
I don't, but I wanted to move on.
Oh, wait, I do.
Yes.
There is this like Peter Pan, I think it's in like a dark erotica series.
Whoa.
But I know
Peter Pan.
Yeah. But
Interesting.
I think
You
like
wrote down Peter Pan's Smurf book. Where's the Smurf?
Smut.
I'm so it says Smurf.
Okay, well I meant to say smut book. It's a Peter Pan
God.
smut book,
Like, this
and
is
I
a
kind of
weird
want to read
kink.
it.
Peter Pan Smurf. Natasha wants to read a Peter Pan Smurf book.
No.
All
Is
right,
it the Never
all right.
King? Yes.
Ah, never. I got it. Okay. So following like the explosion of a lot of these books we talked about from the early 2010s, there was this YA wave of film adaptations that really like correlated with the up and coming of our YouTube channels in 2013, 2014, 2015. What is coming in the I think another wave is coming now because we've got all these books that we're so excited about post-pandemic, and all the rights have been, oh my God. I saw Nico and I thought he was walking behind me. I was like, okay. Sorry. So all the rights have been snatched up. The movies are all in process. They're paused now for the strike. So what are you excited about right now that you think is
your
going to be
question? Because I just said ditto.
Ditto. Oh,
Christine.
okay. Should I just answer?
Yes. So, Christine, what are you excited for coming up in the new year?
Okay. I've seen a lot of people. So granted, I'm not watching any of the clips or trailers for Red, White, and Royal Blue, the movie, but I'm excited for that movie. Even if it's like cheesy, I think it'll be like fun cheesy,
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people like wanting to prematurely hate on it. And I'm just like, I am so excited to watch this story in film version. I think it's going to be so fun. I am so excited for The Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I'm so excited for Colleen's It Ends With Us adaptation.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. There's a lot coming that's going to be super fun. And, okay, so I think the series, like the actual like series that I'm most excited, like that's in progress still, that I'm most excited about is the Ninth House series by Leigh Bardugo. And I didn't realize that it's already signed on with Amazon and that Leigh has been working on, like Leigh is in the writer's room.
Oh.
And they have a pilot. And like it's all like it's moving very slowly, of course, especially with the writer's strike, but there has been a pilot since February, and she was talking about how writing the pilot made her so much more excited to write Hellbent, and Hellbent's been out since the beginning of the year. So
I forgot I need to read that.
She wrote that a while ago. It is so fucking good, and the fact that Lee is like in the writer's room very involved has me so excited. And the fact that it's going to be a TV series, which is perfect for this because there's so much going on. I'm so excited. Anyone who hasn't read Ninth House yet, y'all, get on the train. It's so good. It's very dark. I know I always preamble with that, so just be careful. Read the trigger warnings. It's very dark. It is so fucking good.
I'm excited for that one. And also,
Yes,
like any of the Taylor Jenkins Reid stuff. Like Evelyn Hugo, which hopefully we see soon.
Yes.
I don't know.
I'm a little worried because it's just a movie and there's so much in that book, but
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm pumped.
Yeah. I also hope like we see A Court of Thorns and Roses at some point, and also Red Rising. I'd love to see that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All of this has been in the works for a long time, so it'd be really cool to see them
and they keep changing hands.
come to fruition. Yeah. Yeah. It's just like Hollywood is so fickle, so things get bought and then get put aside so quickly. So all right. So is there anything in here that you think we still have to touch on? I think we kind of like hit all this. Oops, shit.
Yeah, I think so. I think that was a
All
good
right.
discussion.
All right. Yeah.
Also, Brooke says
Okay.
she's very excited for PGO.
Oh,
show.
yeah. Percy Jackson and the Olympians Renaissance is coming, and I am so excited. It's going to come in 2024. The new book is coming in September. Reagan just did a reread of all the PJO books. My friend Brett, who's also like a TikToker, he is reading all the books for the first time, and it's like really fun watching his reviews on TikTok. I mean, not even on TikTok. He's been tweeting like reviews of the books as he reads. So I feel like I have to do a PJO reread, so I'm on top of that shit.
I
Maybe
just
it
need
would
to
be
read
fun.
them.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun to reread it 10 years later and maybe make videos kind of comparing my thoughts then and now, because I did videos for every single one of those as I read them. But yeah, a lot of exciting stuff coming up. Okay, let's move on into Marry, Kiss, Cliff.
It was my turn this time. Okay, because we're on writer strike, I'm going to give our actors a brief break here.
The SAG strike.
SAG strike. And as I was filling this out, I was eating peanut butter M&Ms. So we have Marry, Kiss, Cliff, peanut butter M&Ms, peanut M&Ms, and then just regular M&Ms. What are you
I
gonna
don't
marry,
like
Kiss, Cliff?
M&Ms. I don't like them.
Oh,
If I'm
well,
gonna eat
you have to
anything, I'm
choose.
gonna eat Reese's Pieces. Let's see. I guess I'll marry peanut butter M&Ms and Kiss regular M&Ms and Cliff peanut M&Ms.
Why?
Because I don't like actual peanuts because Paul's allergic. He's also allergic to peanut butter, but peanuts feel more evil because Olivia's also allergic.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know. M&Ms, now I find them like really stupid. Like, what a dumb candy.
I find the normal M&Ms stupid, but peanut butter M&Ms are god tier. They're the best. I think they're better than Reese's because they're bigger. So I'm gonna marry peanut butter M&Ms. I'm going to kiss the peanut M&Ms and then Cliff the regular M&Ms. They're so small and dumb.
Right. Yeah, my core memories of M&Ms are like at spelling tests in second grade. My teacher would walk around and like as we're taking the test, put one M&M on everyone's desk, as like, and if you're like more quiet and more like, I don't know, good studenty, you get more M&Ms as she comes around.
Oh my gosh.
It's like made me feel so special because I'd always have like a nice pyramid of M&Ms at the end. Anyway, irrelevant. Okay, let's move on into chapter chat where we're talking about chapter 7 only today because it was a 45-minute chapter. Natasha, you want the first half of the chapter or the second half of the chapter?
I guess I can go through the first.
All right, walk us in.
So we start off pretty quickly right after chapter 6. Feyre and Rhys are talking about the wall, and Feyre just immediately assumes that Rhys is going to tear down the wall and kill all the humans, and she's just like begging him to not invade, and he's like, cool,
you
it,
really
girl.
think I'm a monster? Like, you really think I'm gonna do that?
Yeah. And so and he like growls and tells her to put her damn shield up because she literally just lost her marbles.
Yeah.
And then he goes on to explain everything. That the King of Highburn is planning to invade, and he's been planning to invade for years, and Amarantha was just a test to see if the lands could,
how easily that his one general could take over a territory and control everyone in the area. And
yes,
it worked out until it didn't.
Yeah. And then and that we kind of go into how the King of Highburn and how Rhys thinks it would happen, that he would do it in a sneaky fashion, that he would do it in a stealth or trickery type of way. We also learned that Rhys fought in the Mortal and Fairy Alliance. And I don't think, because Tamlin didn't fight in that, right?
Tamlin was caught up in his father's drama. I feel like, because his father's on the Highburn side of the war. He definitely fought in the war, but maybe he crossed sides to be against his father. I can't remember. We just read it and analyzed it to a T, and I cannot fucking remember.
We need to put the episode together, just all the chapters.
I know. So
yeah, that's what Brooke says. Tamlin was too young. That's what I remember.
He definitely learned stuff. Maybe he was just on the lines with them. Because he played the fiddle there, and he brawled there and stuff. He talks about it. So maybe he was too young to actually be official, but he was there. He grew up amongst them.
Okay. Well, so now we know that we now know about the King of Highburn, and he's thinking that this is all going to happen at some point. And he was like, well,
it's imminent.
It's imminent. It's going to happen. And he's like, well, I like all your powers. So, and you are a great hunter, and you caught a Suriel, and I have never caught a Suriel. I've tried twice. So
yeah, hold on. Can we back up on this? Before we go any further, she's like, what do you want from me? And he's like, I heard you caught I need your skills. You caught a Suriel and you caught that worm, and I need that skill. And I'm like,
in
for
what world?
What do you mean? It's so, I don't know how this pans out, how he needs her to hunt something. I'm like, is it the Weaver? I don't remember him needing her
again, maybe. I don't remember though.
There is another Suriel. Is it the same? There's something, but is that really what he's talking about? I feel like that happens by accident. I don't know. But hilarious the fact that Lucian said you can catch a Suriel just by offering a rope. Brooke, wait, he didn't say offering a rope, did he? I don't think
you have to set a trap for it.
Yeah, there was a chicken that she set to trap or
the Suriel's not Dobby. You just don't give it a sock.
When did that happen? Yeah, he did
The chicken thing.
Oh, he tricked her into doing the chicken thing, but there was like an easier way that he told her afterward or something.
I don't know.
Wait,
But
it
if
is like
freaking
Dobby?
Lucian could figure it out, why can't Reese figure it
Why
out?
can't I feel like this is bullshit.
Just a
but
ploy.
I don't know. Anyway, yeah, so that was a weird sentence to hear him say. Go on.
So, and it's a very quick conversation. They're just standing at this mirror, and then, like, at one point, she's just questioning him, and she's like, "Well, why would you want me to do this? Like, I don't understand." He's like, "Well, high ladies do all of these things, and they're very like strong and
And
super
she's like, "There's
powerful."
no such thing as a high lady," and he's like, "There can be a high lady, and if you're not
There are
that, you
high
might be
ladies."
something more."
Yeah. And that he wants, he thinks her potential is great, and he wants to teach her about her powers.
Mm-hmm.
And then she's like, "Well, I need to ask Tamlin. I need to ask Daddy."
That he's I'm Tamlin's subject, and he's like, "You're no one's subject." This is ridiculous. And he says that if she doesn't learn to use her powers, that they could destroy her because she doesn't know how to utilize them correctly.
Yeah.
She's very powerful.
And that she has the choice if she wants to become a weapon, because she could end up helping
Make a
to
big
save
difference.
everyone.
Yeah.
Because he's, again, questioning if she has any of those, like, little kernels, love kernels in her from
Love kernels. What
the
do you mean?
droplets, the nuggets.
Oh, you mean power kernels? Those?
the
She has
nuggets,
the power kernels. Rice
the
Dan says
nuggets
he's
of
like,
power.
she's like, "Well, I might not," and he's like, "No, you do."
The nuggets
And you have
of
to
power.
train. And she's like, "Talk to Tamlin about it and see what he says." But ultimately, the decision is yours, not his. Like, you can, like, be his doll, or you can be your own person. And like this chapter is really a juxtaposition with how Tamlin treats her versus how Rysand treats her. And Tamlin is so annoying when she gets back, because like Rysand is really opening up her mind to like trying to get her to take agency of herself, of her powers and her potential and who she is, because she's lived her whole life stunted and first like just trying to survive, and now being smothered by this man that wants her to be his like little doll wife instead of a person on
High
her own.
lady, powerful person.
Like, when she gets back and tells him about all of this stuff and that she wants to train and that I have powers, like, did you suspect? And he's like, "I hoped you didn't." And it's like, excuse me? And he's like, powers like that's going to attract unwanted attention. People will kill for those powers. And Lucian's like, "Yeah, if my father finds out you got power from him, like, he's going to want to murder you. A woman, Tamlin's wife, has some of my power." And it's just like so fucking archaic the way that they're treating her.
Yeah.
Like she's like, "Well, I should train." And he's like, "No, it'll attract too much attention. Even if I did train you, it would take you years to be ready to be on a battlefield. There will be no training."
Yeah, and like Lucian on the aside is like trying to interrupt and like rolling his eyes because he knows he's being ridiculous and unfair. Also, like when she gets back, Tamlin's like, "I have missed you. I trashed the whole house."
Oh,
Yikes.
it's like, oh, cringe. Like, the study is covered in claw marks and the table is new because he broke it.
It's not the flex you think it is, Tamlin Brooks says.
Yeah.
But we kind of missed a little bit in the middle there before she got back. But basically all that happens, she's there for a week. At one point she overhears Moore and Reese talking about some like ransacked temple, and they bring up Azrael and Cassian, that they need to like check these traps, and they all know they know that she's listening, which I think is interesting because then
He trusts her.
yeah, he trusted her, but at the same time, Tamlin and Lucian ask for literally everything. Like all she wants to do is like hang out with Tamlin and probably have sex, and then he's like, no, I need this is the only time like someone has been to the Night Court and has come back alive. Like you need to tell me everything. So she tells them everything.
Yeah. And the thing is, Rysand didn't say not to either. He just he said talk to Tamlin about it because he wants Tamlin on his side, and he knows that Feyre may have some pull with him. But yeah, Katie says poor Feyre tries so hard to eavesdrop in every book, but everyone knows she's there.
Yeah.
They all always know. Like, they can hear thoughts. They can hear her breathing. Like, it's ridiculous. But anyway, Rysand is so clear with her and open with her about literally anything she asks. And Tamlin and Lucian are constantly, like, exchanging looks and, like, giving her half-truths and just shutting her down and telling her to stay here and not to worry about it. Like, when she says that she wants to train so that she'll be able to, like, help and protect everyone from this war, he is like, I can guard you from anything you need guarding from. And she's sitting there like, no, you fucking can't. Like, this happened already. Like, you were at Aramantha's whim. Like, you couldn't do anything while she tortured her. Like, she needs to be able to do stuff for her fucking self. That moment was so frustrating because they just really wanted her to rip him a new one, and she just like kind of was telling herself like, well, maybe like I could just give him this. I could just stop fighting on this. And it's like, no. No.
Yeah. Literally at the end, he's like, no training. There's going to be no war.
And she's like, that's wishful thinking. And that's like the most rebellious thing she says right now. It made me laugh when she like referred in her head to Ianthe as like being her friend by proxy. Like she's really trying to convince herself that like she's going to be happy going back to Tamlin.
Oh, it was really funny when Rhys was making her read different sentences. Like, Rhys is the most beautiful High Lord. Rhys is hilarious.
He's the most charismatic of the High Lords. Yeah, it was very like Jay Soyland of him. All these sentences she had to read and rewrite. But yeah, so let's see. I think we covered everything here. Basically, Tamlin's a big douchebag, and I didn't remember her ever going back to them. So when she did, it was like, no, I thought we were done being at Tamlin's. I was imagining, I think, what must happen in this book being what happens at the beginning of the next book. So I feel like she has like an explosion of power at one point, and it hasn't happened yet, but I guess it's going to happen in this book. I don't know. Anyway, next week we'll be reading chapter 8. I actually went right into it by accident, and I realized I was still listening, and I was like in chapter 8. I was like, oh fuck.
It's really like all of them are short. I feel like we could do the next 3.
What?
The next few chapters are pretty short. So chapter 8 is 19, chapter 9 is 9, and then chapter 10 is 14 minutes.
Okay, so we can try to do chapters 8, 9, and 10 to make up for our one chapter this week?
Yeah.
All right, y'all. You heard Natasha. 3 chapters next week. All right, so that's our show. We are going to go record Fangirl Tea Time. We're going to talk a little bit more about what's been going on in our lives. I have a bit of a date story to tell, and it's going to be a fun time. So that'll be available at the first tier on our Patreon, Team Jacob and up, if you're interested. That's our show for today. Our link is in the show notes for the Patreon, patreon.com/thoseworkingfangirls. But anyway, that's our show for today. Thank y'all so much for listening. Our podcast is edited by Alex Polis and Jake Needham, with music by Cole Jenkins and vocals by Heather Traska. We release new episodes every Friday. My name's Christine.
And I'm Natasha.
And we will see you next week. Thanks, y'all.
Bye.
And you can follow us on Instagram and at Those Working Fangirls.